ladies and gentlemen, as we have traveled some 4,500 miles, maybe 4,700 miles because of our freeper driving us. We love that guy, Gary. There's a lady standing here to my right. She is a wonderful woman, and her and I have a lot of things in common. We have the same name. We both have been single mothers and raised our children alone as single mothers. We're military moms. Our sons have both been in special forces. Debbie's still single, I'm still single, and we're taking applications. However, there's one major difference between Debbie Lee and myself, is that God brought my son William Johns home to me faithfully 3 times. However, God chose to redeploy Debbie's son, Mark Allen Lee, to heaven. So will you please give a very warm welcome to my very wonderful, close, dear friend that I love so much, Debbie Lee.
How many of you are here today to fight for victory? As Deborah said, my son Mark Allen Lee was the first Navy SEAL to lay down his life in Iraq just a little over a year ago on August 2nd, 2006. Yep. And I bring his picture with me whenever I speak out, because I know he's here with me, unlike one of those other moms who's lost her son, who her son would be horrified at the things she's doing. I know Mark's looking down on me. I know this is what he would want me to do because he believed in what we're doing, and I know he's proud of me.
I know it's
Thank you. You know, the day of the battle, I don't know, many of you I communicate with and have read Mark's story, but the day of the battle was one of the toughest battles that they'd had. He was in Ramadi, and 3 times that day, he stood out in the direct line of fire. He stood out in the direct line of fire to save his buddies. He stood out in the direct line of fire to defend me. And he stood out in the direct line of fire to defend every American in this nation because he knew that was the right thing to do, and he believed in it. I'm so proud of him. They were up on the rooftop that day. There were 4 of the SEALs up there, and his buddy had got shot in the head, had serious injuries, and they knew they needed to immediately evacuate him, but they didn't have a medic on the rooftop. So Mark single-handedly stood up in the direct line of fire to defend his buddies. And for those of you who've seen pictures of Iraq or have been there, you know there's rooftops that have a border around them that he could have gone below, he could have stayed undercover, and he could have waited for backup. But he didn't. He chose to stand up in the direct line of fire. They did get the medic to the rooftop, and then he did the same thing again. They knew they needed to get Ryan down immediately, so he stood up in the direct line of fire for a second time. And I'm so very proud of him. At that point, they all got off the rooftop. They went back to the base, which I'm proud to say today has been renamed in his honor to Camp Mark Lee. And I know there's some SEALs here in the crowd, but those guys are hardcore. They are amazing men. And they went back to the base, and their Master Chief came in and asked them if they were ready to go back out because they'd found where 30 of the insurgents were. So Mark looked at him in the eye, said, "Roger that, let's go get him." So they went back and they were cleared in the bottom of a house. They were getting ready to go up to the rooftop. Mark was not an officer, but he chose to lead them in that day up to the rooftop. And it was at that point that he gave his life. And many people have said the terrorists took your son's life. But you know what? You can't take somebody's life who willingly gives it. And Mark willingly gave his life. And you know, that's not any different than any of our troops who have served, who are serving. They have taken a blank check, and they have signed their name on the bottom of that check. And they've given it to me. They've given it to you. They've given it to every American, whether they're Democrat or Independent or Republican, and said, we are willing to fill in whatever it costs to defend our nation up to the cost of our life, just like my son did that day. And I want to honor and thank everyone who's ever served or is serving. And usually when we've done our caravans, I have a letter that I read that was Mark's last letter home. But we don't have time to do that today. Move America Forward is going to post this on the website, so if you'd like to read the letter in entirety, it's an amazing letter. But I would just like to read the last part. It says, "The 4th has just come and gone, and I received many emails thanking me for helping keep America great and free. I take no credit for the career path I have chosen. I can only give it to those of you who are reading this, because each one of you has contributed to me and who I am. However, what I do over here is only a small percent of what keeps our country great. I think the truth to our greatness is each other. Purity, morals, and kindness passed down to each generation through example. So to all of my family and friends, do me a favor. Pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life to each other, so that when your children come into contact with a great conflict that we are now faced with here in Iraq, that they are people of humanity, of pure motives, of compassion. This is our real part to keep America free. Happy 4th. Love ya." Halfway through the deployment. Can't wait to see all of your faces. And God did redeploy Mark to heaven, but we're still here, and we are only halfway through the deployment. And we cannot give up. You guys need to use your voices. We need to all use our voices. And call Congress and senators and tell them to give our troops everything they need to be successful to complete that mission. USA! 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 We need to use our voices today because Mark and all of those who have gone before him have willingly given up their voices. So we need to carry on and honor them by using our voices in America to make a difference. We need to get out of our lazy boys, and we need to make a difference in America. Thank you, and may God bless America.